The day she walked into my life, I thought God had answered a prayer I had forgotten to make. She showed up at my front door on a rainy Tuesday in November, holding a cardboard box and crying. Her name was Diana. She was my late mother's niece, a cousin I had never really known growing up, and according to her, she had nowhere left to go. I was 31 years old. I had a small but honest life. I had a 2-bedroom apartment that I had spent 3 years saving for. I had a job I loved as a paralegal at a downtown firm. I had a retirement account, a good credit score, and a quiet dignity I had worked hard to build after years of struggle. I didn't have much, but what I had was mine. And I opened my door, because that's what family does. She cried beautifully that night. She told me her landlord had locked her out. She told me her ex-boyfriend had taken everything. She told me she just needed a few weeks, just enough time to get back on her feet. She held my hand across the kitchen table and looked me in the eyes and said, and I remember this so clearly it still hurts, "You're the only person in this world who has ever made me feel safe." I believed her, every single word. What I didn't know that night, what I had absolutely no way of knowing, was that Diana had said those exact same words to at least 4 other people in the past 2 years. I didn't know that she had left a trail of devastation across 3 states. I didn't know that somewhere in a federal building just 40 miles away from my kitchen table, there was a file with her name on it. I didn't know any of that. So I poured her tea, made up the guest room, and went to sleep feeling like a good person. That was the last truly peaceful sleep I would have for almost 2 years. My name is Maya, and this is the story of how the woman I called family dismantled everything I had built, and how the FBI, a sealed court document, and one rainy afternoon I never expected, changed the entire ending of this story. Stay with me, because this is the part where it gets complicated before it gets better. Diana moved into my guest room on a Wednesday. By Saturday, she had reorganized my kitchen. By the following...
The months passed. Diana got a part-time job at a nail salon. Or so she said. She never showed me a pay stub. She contributed nothing to bills, but always had money for things she wanted. New shoes, a new phone, little luxuries she waved away as gifts from a friend. And I kept the peace. I kept the peace because somewhere deep inside me I had decided that being alone was the worst thing that could happen to a person. And Diana, for all her strangeness, was there. She filled the apartment with noise and laughter. She cooked on Sundays. She remembered my birthday. She told me she loved me like a sister. I don't know who I would be without you, Maya. You saved me. I held on to that. I held on to it like a rope. Until one evening in March, about 8 months after she had moved in, I came home from work earlier than expected to find the apartment empty. Not just Diana gone. Empty. My laptop. Gone. The emergency cash I kept in a shoebox at the back of my closet. $1,200 I had been saving since Christmas. Gone. A folder of personal documents I kept in my desk drawer. My passport, my social security card, a copy of my birth certificate. Gone. I stood in my bedroom doorway and the floor felt like it was tilting. I kept blinking, like the room would correct itself. Like there was a different explanation. Like maybe I had misplaced everything at once. Somehow. And some spectacular coincidence. I called her 14 times, straight to voicemail. I filed a police report that night. The officer was kind but honest. He told me that without proof of forced entry, without clear evidence that the items were taken by a specific person.
It was a Thursday afternoon in October, almost 14 months after Diana had disappeared, when I heard the knock at my door. 2 people, a man and a woman. Dark jackets, federal badges. "Are you Maya? We're with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. We'd like to talk to you about a woman named Diana." I think my whole body went cold and warm at the same time. They came inside, and they sat at the same kitchen table where Diana had once held my hand and called me her only safe place. And they told me something that rearranged every memory I had of her. Diana was a serial identity thief. She had been doing this for 6 years, across multiple states. She had a system. She targeted recently grieving people who had lost a parent or a spouse, people whose pain made them open. She would weave herself into their lives using the language of family, of healing, of need. She would stay long enough to collect what she needed. Then she would vanish and do it again. I was victim number 11. The FBI had been building a case against her for 2 years. They had found her. She was in custody in another state after attempting the same scheme on a woman who, unlike me, had a brother who happened to be a detective. They had a strong case, but they needed documentation from each of her victims. They needed me. I gave them everything. Every bank letter, every dispute record, every voicemail I had saved from those 14 ignored calls. I gave them the police report. I gave them dates, timelines, photographs I had taken of her things in my apartment. And sitting across from those 2 agents, something in me shifted. Because for 14 months I had felt like a fool, like a woman too naive, too trusting, too desperate for connection to see what was right in front of her. I had spent over a year being ashamed of my own kindness. But that afternoon I realized something. My kindness was never the problem. Her cruelty was. Diana was convicted on 11 counts of identity fraud, 2 counts of wire fraud, and several related charges. The total amount she had stolen across all her victims was over $400,000. She was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. I was not in the courtroom the day she was sentenced.